Alright. Let's get started. Okay, so for the rest of the week, well, now that we're back in, the focus of the classes for the, probably not just this week, but next week we're gonna touch on all of it, is photo bashing, like fundamentals. So one of the issues that I've seen, and I've been like talking to a lot of people on like digital art pieces on Facebook. And like, this is going to be like a YouTube series. So, but a lot of the issues that I've been finding that when I've been talking to people is that there's this like, what am I doing? There's this issue with people like trying to learn how to photo bash. And I feel like generally most of the time we're on a pretty good track. I see a lot of students and they do a lot of the right things, but they make a lot of like big mistakes early on, and those mistakes only occur like because, you know, like if you're making these mistakes, it's like, of course you're making these mistakes, you've never done it before, or you're just getting into it. So of course there's going to be like, you know, some pretty big errors. I've worked with photo bashing for, I want to say like 6 years now. And basically every major illustration I've done has, you know, used photo bashing as like a base, or, you know, just as like a foundation. I'll bring up some artwork now, just to talk about, you know, what I use and how I kind of get there. So it's like, this is like probably my most recent big publicized piece. This was entirely done with, so I did start in grayscale and I painted the basics out, but then I finished on, you know, like I did do a lot of photo bashing to get like some of the textures and colors right. And that's because you can use photo bashing in tons of different ways. I always hear people talking about, you know, oh, photo bashing is bad for fundamentals, and I think that is incredibly incorrect. I think photo bashing can be, it's more difficult than it is perceives across, and I think that's the only issue. That you get this like half-baked result, and so it's very clear where your errors are comparative to if you just do it from the ground up, like your errors are consistent. So that's why you can tell the difference between someone who's, you know, introductory versus someone that's like a professional. That those, it's just very transparent because, you know, if they're making, I don't know, like a line work piece from the ground up, it's consistent. And then you can understand those inconsistencies throughout the whole piece, where the issue that arises when you say photo bashing is that some of it looks brilliant, but then some of it doesn't. And so the flaws are clear. I just want to actually, before we jump in, just talk about probably 3 major points on why we photo bash, right? So firstly, so it's like the creative process. So I think this is the biggest one and the one I want to focus on the most, because we will be diving in, and today's one, so this morning's introduction, it'll be really short, but we're just going to be working on how you can build a bunch of basic ideas and then quickly extrude all that information out. to create a bunch of quick works using photo bashing. And the biggest part that comes from all this is that you get like a very free creative process where I think a lot of times all artists struggle to create like a new idea, and it's stressful. Like it is sometimes stressful to work on the fly. And when I work with clients, and I have worked with clients before, I usually start on this process. It's very much like a Feng Zhu style. It just allows you to create and, you know, generate new ideas. Secondly, this is less important, but free detailing. So when you like import a texture in a Photoshop scene with like an image, you are essentially getting that texture for free. Now this is where I think people get messed up, and the fact is that they don't respect they take too much importance on what they see. We'll be learning on how to like abandon this idea a little bit, just take a few steps away, but then be able to come back in and understand how we use this. Because I think this is the issue that people get the most wrong, is free detailing. Yes, photo bashing can give you so much for free, and that tightens your process, makes your stuff look more professional. And why detailing is usually so important is we've worked in an industry now for a very long time where realism is important. Now, I hear a lot of things where people are like, realism painting is not as important as people think it is. I think that's incredibly incorrect. I think realism painting, the reason why it's so popular, and the reason why it is so important in the industry, is that a lot of fantasy games, just a lot of games in general are based in reality, including fantasy games. You know, somewhat have some kind of basis, and so these dynamic worlds feel more creative if we're able to establish them like in reality. That's just like my quick theory. And so that's what these detailing things do really well. We can like draw things from real life and make these crazy scenes look realistic and grounded. So we'll be working a lot on how to like do detailing. I'll probably spend like an entire lesson next week on detailing using photo bashing, because we need to kind of strip the basic ideologies and then implement new ones. So we've got creative process, and then we've got free detailing. As a third, oh gosh, it's a tough choice to choose which one I'll probably make as my third major one. Yeah, honestly, it's just quick. So you have two different styles of work you're going to be working with, typically. One is, I'll actually make this distinction here, right? I hate working in black for pen, I don't know why I chose this. So, okay, so one, we'll call this A actually, A and B. Okay, so A, you either work in, you'll be doing concept design or concept art. Okay, so these are actually two different concepts, two different like styles. Now, in concept design, you're just literally, it means nothing how messy the artwork looks. It can be the textures are unbalanced, the entire value of the piece is wrong, just like everything is just not, you wouldn't call this a finished piece even remotely. But the idea is that you punch out, I want to say, if you were to do it with a team in a week, maybe 200, maybe 500. And the idea is to just make like hundreds of these ideas. You're just going to throw all of this out and you're just getting out all these ideas. And then like an art director for, say, someone working for, let's think of like Lucasfilms with Disney. I think I don't know. The guy's making Star Wars. They'll look at that, and that art director knows what he's looking at. Like, you know, it's not like a CEO walking in being like, wow, this looks really crap. It's someone that like knows what they're looking at, and they'll just kind of like go through and gel all these ideas. So concept design is like really rough, but it's just about the conceptual stage, and you're just trying to like get a lot of ideas out. Like a great example for this process is, let's think of a good, with like the new Star Wars films, where they had like the Death Star in the planet. That would have been like just thrown together really quickly. But then you have the second stage, which is concept art. Now this is where we get a bit more flexible. So this is where you start making actual presentable art. And this is important for two major factors, right? So let's go. What's another one? We'll do dot and then two dots. So there's two major reasons we have art. It sells, right? And so if you were to, the art director you're presenting this work to is going to look at that artwork and then take it to his big people, and they'll look at it and be like, wow, this looks great, this is going to sell, right? Or you take it to the game company and it's going to sell. And so a lot of it gets used as like, this is what the game is going to look like, and it promotes the idea. ArtStation is impeccable. I'll see if I can find the right one. I think the movie's called Jupiter Ascending. Yeah. Okay. Oh, where did I drag that? Okay. So this is the Jupiter Ascending concept art. And this is why, so like they're taking this kind of artwork here, to big like presenters, like big CEOs, and like people that are taking the film direction, and they'll have like this vision in their head, and they'll be like, wow, this is like stunning, like I can see the cinematic shot, and it makes a lot of sense, and yes, we want to proceed. So that's one of the major reasons. But the second one is 3D. So 3D is like a great process. So we can use it in our concept art, but the way that we use it is absolutely not like how 3D modelers use it, like at all. Sometimes we get a bit close, but people that like work in special effects and building these worlds for the actual movies, you cannot waste their time. So making movies and games is this like, typically, if it's not gone to hell, is this like really tight process. So, and the reason I want to I know this is kind of long, but if we understand this now, it's going to make a lot of what we do building on this series, because I'm going to be uploading all of these to YouTube. I'm going to be working on these every day. It's just going to really help us understand like what concept art is, and like how far should you take it, and what kind of level should you get to. But okay, so if this is like a timeline, and this is like the concept, so this has got nothing to do with us. So this is like someone has like a script, or like this is kind of like what we're looking for with the movie, and then this is like cinema. So it's like out, right? So by the time it hits the cinema, so they'll finish their concept around like here, right? And then us as concept artists and concept designers, right? So concept designers might fit in here, right? So they'll span this like full length from the original concept to up to where concept artists work, right? Actually, I'll put another line like here, and then here. Okay. So, you know, they'll just generate these ideas, but then the concept artists here are like knuckling out all the work, and this is like nitty gritty, because I'll get rid of that. When we're talking about like in a production line, once we figure out all this, we need to make sure that this process here, right, where the 3D modelers exist and the special effects artists, that they have like absolutely zero wasted time, right? Another thing that falls under this is like props, costumes, film style maybe. So what concept artists are doing is making sure that everyone that has to make the film has an extremely clear vision of what the product is going to be. And one of the things we'll do next week as well, so stay tuned for the series, is we'll go through like a full game's concept art and like look at it and review it and try to understand how they used it to make the film. But yeah, so 3D props, costumes, like as concept artists, that's what we do. We make that. We completely like build this process from the ground up. We make sure that when a 3D modeler is making a city, they have exactly what the city looks like in their mind. They know the people that live there, they know what they dress like, they know what they eat. Like, we've just completely sold the idea for them, right? What are, if it's fantasy, what weapons do they use? What magic do they use? What does the magic look like? Maybe, and I feel like as time gets more and more progressive, I've noticed a massive shift in importance of making really cinematic looking concept art. As we saw from the Jupiter Ascending piece, it like looks gorgeous, but it's like very distinctly like a cinematic shot. And that's because obviously when they're working in cinema, we need to make sure that we're selling ideas that they relate to. So this is where we kind of stop. We don't really go past here. And then from here they make the film. Now there's one little section at the end here where they might ask you to make some artwork for them. And that's, okay, well, you were really good for the early stuff, or maybe you weren't even there in the early stuff, we just want some artwork made. And that's what you do. And then you come in and make some artwork. So that's more like illustration. Just triple L, who knows? Okay, so we have illustration over here. But yeah, we only exist here. That's it. And if you're lucky, you start from the start, and if you're just a concept artist, you're very isolated. Okay, so what I suggest and how we start things off, and this will just get like your creative eye like looking. Now, one thing that I do sometimes is that I will, in a lot of naughty ways, intentionally, so that's the center, so I'll go back a little bit. Of course. Gonna do it on a new layer. You can like not make your canvas wide enough. So I'm a big believer in making a wide canvas. I haven't recently just because I'm trying to try new things out. But you should work with a wide canvas. Now, someone asked me why would I bother working with a wide canvas before, and I was like, the reason why, sorry, let me just fix this up. So the reason we work with like wide canvases is I think it teaches you to be more cinematography focused. Now, yes, you will, if you want to work in games, that's great. but the more beautiful your work looks, you know, the more cinematography it'll look like, you know, the more it will try to replicate the cinema. So big wide screens like this look really good. And I also feel like, as a kind of general rule, it's better to work wider because you can tighten it up, but if you have too tight of a piece, it's hard to expand it. Alright, so let's talk about fundamentals. And I like talking about the Feng style of doing things, because the Feng style is just like a really cool way to get the ideas going. So I'm just going on Google Images, and I am by no means having any big degree of order to anything. So I'm looking to just gel a bunch of stuff and to get a bunch of ideas in. So I've just like looked up mountains in Google Images, and I'm not caring about where like anything sits. I just want to make sure that there are no jagged edges from the photos. So we start photo bashing by like changing the layer filter. So like how are each layer interacting with each other is a good way to think about it. We don't want to be too crazy, while we equally don't want it to be too dark. So I don't mind a little bit of dark because a layer filter in the future might brighten it, but we don't want to make it like pitch black. But you see how I just remove those hard edges? I just get them out of the way. And also like the directions of things don't matter. Right? So I'm just being wacky and different with it. And that's because we're not, this is how we use photos in like a Feng style. And I'll show you what we can kind of come out with. And also, like, you know, when concept artists, they have all these like cool funky angles in their stuff. This is how they do it. They like, well, a lot of the time, because they're being like so explosive with their photo placement that I'm already seeing things on these like cool angles that I'm hopefully going to use. You know, and so change it up, make it look good. There's no blending needed, rubbing out or anything needed here. I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm just gonna grab some like city photos now. Yeah, you don't have to take up the whole screen. That's fine, you can just take like section by section. And if something is not working, just get rid of it. You gotta think of this process as like fast. And if it's not fast, you need to like review what you're doing. You're probably taking like far too long. I always see when people do photo bashing, like they're really slow. There's nothing wrong with like learning and taking your time, but when you're intentionally being slow to like be pedantic and to try to, you know, have too much importance on the original photo, it's where you can fault yourself. So what we're trying to think about here is that whatever the original image is does not matter. We're using it to create a bunch of new stuff. And we're thinking about each like little panel individually. I'm gonna bring this puppy down here. Okay, let's change it up. Let's think of I'm looking up rock concert. And so I mean, like, it really is as flexible as you want to make it, and you can be grounding yourself by not thinking of it in the right way. Okay. Well, this is a good one. Yeah, damn, that looks really cool. Alright, so let's just get another photo in. Okay. And this is what I mean, like, I'm just trying to go to a point where I think I can see like lots of cool things already, but I'm not committing just yet. I'm like, I want to get it to a point where I kind of see something in everything. But you see, like, I'm very like nonchalantly, just like painting, and that's the most important thing we can do. So. Let's get some castles in. So what we can do is kind of see like a blend setting that works really well. Like darken's really nice here, and from here I might be able to. And see, I don't really like this image. I actually think the quality of the image isn't that great, and so it's kind of like ruining what we're looking at. Here's a good one. There we go. See how like I used like little bits of the image, and I've got these like little specks of red. Part of me is thinking, like, for example, down here, I might consider having this as like a volcano erupting on the side, and someone's like watching it pour into the water. And that's something I literally just saw then and was like, this could be really creative. And so we want to make sure that we're like looking for these things, like what little bits of information can we draw. Alright, that's a nice green. So what I'm going to do here is kind of drag it across and see what I can find. And see how it adds these like little lines and stuff in here? That's kind of significant. Like, we might be able to draw some really interesting parts out of that as well. And so we try not to, you know, we take little wins that we can. And we use those. And see here, what I'm doing is I'm just looking for what I can start seeing now, and you know, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm feeling kind of happy with all of these. And then you might, from here, a good little suggestion that I have is to kind of like identify each piece that you think like needs work or that you like. Like I'm looking at, for example, I'll put this up here for now. I'm seeing this as like a little cityscape that I can create. This one I feel like has just nothing. This one's interesting, but I feel like I could do a little bit more. This top right one, it's just the angle of it and the lighting. I can already know what kind of scene I'm gonna have, like a dragon in the corner flying around. This city one could be really cool. We could add some we could turn this into a totally futuristic city and maybe even do like a what's the city? Oh my gosh, my brain is gonna bake it. The Final Fantasy VII city. You could do like a thing like that and have that tower be the main connector up. This one's a little bit lost. This one is like a big Final Fantasy-esque landscape that joins on from like a little desert that connects up, and then there's this little upscape down here. So that was a long explanation to basically say, yeah, like I've already seen things that I like, and you should approach, landscapes, creating this process in that kind of similar way. Like start seeing what you like, and then be like, wow, okay, cool, what do I need to do to make this work? Oh, that's cool. I actually like that. See, that literally the only effect that did was make like a little crack in that mountain, but I was like, oh, okay, cool. I actually see what I want to do with this now. And here, as I said, sometimes I'll just leave like the major parts on, and I'll just try to get rid of some stuff and see what I can do. Okay, I actually think I'm really good. I just want to get this one sorted, see what I can add in to create like a bit of variety. Oh, this is a cool image. That no, actually I can't use that one. And then this will be ready to go. Now, for those who think this looks crazy, I understand. When my dad watched my stream, he told me, he was like, I was watching that, I thought it looked so horrible until you finished it. And it's true, like, if you know, this is me looking at it, I have a very different perspective than you. So of course, I'm gonna have slightly different ideas. Okay, that's it. Beautiful. Alright, so this is done. Like, and you might be looking at this being like, whoa, okay. I don't know. So let me kind of explain the major key components that we'll be using as we go forward. So the major thing what this has created is two major components, right? One is that, as you can see, it's like extremely colorful, and because it's got a lot of color, when we're painting out and making ideas, suddenly our art piece is just erupting with color in our faces, and it's so pleasing to look at, and it elevates your foundation from like here to like here. It shoots it up. The best comparison I can make is for anyone that knows like fundamentals of painting faces, that faces are actually extremely rich in color. There's blues, there's purples, there's greens, and there's reds. So that's amazing, right? And it's way more than just like the standard tan color people think it is. And then if you start painting with that philosophy, when you're painting faces, your colors in the face just look amazing. They look gorgeous. And painting environments works the same. There's actually way more color, even if we tame it all back, right? I'll explain what I mean by that. So, say I want this piece here to be way more yellow, right? Let's put a warming filter on. And you see when I turn that up, it makes it all yellow. But if we take it off, there's little blues, reds, yellows, greens, these beautiful blends. Then when I amp it up, they still are making like an impact in the scene. Let's turn it back just a little bit, right? So if I go there, the blues are still making an impact. The greens, the yellows, the reds, the oranges, they're all blending together beautifully. So we can matte the image more, but those colors are still like really prominent. Now the second one, which is arguably the most important, is we now have, here I've just created like 8 foundations, and for me, we'll come back and I think we'll spend like maybe an hour and a half getting all of these to like a base presentable level as like a concept designer. So you'll see that I could get all these out, and then the total time will probably be like 2 hours. But if an art director comes over my shoulder and I'm working at the desk and he's like, hey, can you show me what you have today? And I show him this, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. You have 8 pieces. We've got tons to choose from. Everyone's going to be really happy. And then they go over to the next desk and somebody's just painting one piece, and he goes, I actually don't like that. That person has to start all over again. It's 2 hours. This, when, by the time we're going to start painting it and 2 hours in, he can scrap, half of them, and we still have 4. So that's kind of the foundation that we work on. Anyway, I'll be coming back. I've got to go to work. But I will be coming back later to do the European class. And in the European class, we'll be painting on. So, hope you guys enjoy the YouTube video. And that should be everything. Catch ya.